The Alpha Who Stole My Soul. Chapter 1. The Moon's Choice. The night air bit at Selene's skin, sharper than any winter she had known. Yet it wasn't the cold that made her pulse quicken. It was the pull, the invisible tug in her chest, calling her to the forest. The trees swayed in the wind, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for her. Somewhere above, the full moon glowed silver, spilling light that made the frost glimmer like shards of glass. Selene's fingers tingled as she stepped softly over roots and frozen leaves. She had no reason to come here. She had never felt drawn to the forest before. But something ancient and unseen, was calling her, whispering her name in the rustle of the trees. A shadow shifted between the trunks, her breath caught. He appeared like a living shadow, taller than any man she had ever seen, broad-shouldered and impossibly commanding. His amber eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, and the forest seemed to bow around him. Selene's knees wobbled. She had always believed the world was ordinary, safe. But he was neither ordinary nor safe. Every fiber in her body screamed it. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice low, rich, and threaded with danger. She wanted to run. She wanted to turn back. But she couldn't, not entirely. There was something about him, a pull that rooted her in place, that whispered she was exactly where she was meant to be. "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, almost lost in the wind. The Alpha's gaze didn't waver. His eyes pierced her, sharp and feral, yet there was a flicker of something else, recognition, or perhaps something older, deeper. "You feel it, don't you?" he murmured. "The bond, it calls to you." Selene swallowed hard, the word making her pulse stutter. Bond. She didn't understand, and yet she felt it, a warmth that wasn't hers, a thread that pulsed beneath her skin. Her heartbeat matched it, erratic, impossible to ignore. He took a step closer. The air seemed to tighten around her, as if the forest itself held its breath. She wanted to speak, to ask 100 questions at once, but no sound came. "You are mine," he said softly, and yet there was something almost painful in the words. "Whether you understand it or not," Selene gasped. Fear, awe, and something darker surged through her at once. Her life, the village, her ordinary existence, felt impossibly distant. This man, this Alpha, had shattered it all in a single moment. Then the wind shifted, and a branch cracked sharply behind her. Kael froze, amber eyes narrowing, every muscle in his body coiled like a predator. Selene's heart thundered. She could not turn back now. "You will come," he said quietly, almost to himself. "One way or another. You are mine." Her breath hitched. The forest whispered around her, the frost-covered ground sparkling like stars beneath her hands. The bond pulsed, strong, insistent, undeniable. Selene realized with a shiver she could run, she could fight, but she could not escape him. The moon bathed them in silver light, and for the first time, Selene understood the truth she had never asked for but could not deny. Fate had chosen her, and the Alpha, he had recognized her. Chapter 2. The Alpha's Refusal. The forest was silent after their encounter, but Selene's chest burned with the memory of his amber eyes. She had never felt anything like it, a thread of power tugging at her very soul, invisible yet undeniable. Her footsteps faltered on the frost-covered ground. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but another, stranger instinct held her in place. The bond was alive. It pulsed beneath her skin, a steady, insistent rhythm she could not ignore. A rustle behind her made her spin. Nothing, just the wind, or so she told herself. Kael emerged from the shadows, moving with a predator's grace. His gaze locked onto hers. The moonlight glinted off the scar along his jawline, and even in the cold, his presence pressed against her like a weight she could not lift. "You shouldn't have come back," he said, voice low and commanding, but edged with something, restrained. I couldn't stay away, Selene admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Her fingers brushed the thread beneath her skin, and a shiver ran through her. I feel it, the bond. Why does it pull me to you? Kael's jaw tightened. He took a step closer, and the air itself seemed to bend around him. You do not understand, he said. I cannot claim you, not yet. Not without consequences you cannot survive. Fear pricked at her, but defiance flared just beneath it. Then why? Why does it call to me? Why am I drawn to you if I'm not meant to be yours? Kael's amber eyes flickered, betraying a flicker of pain he quickly masked. He turned away, pacing slightly as if fighting invisible chains. The bond chooses you, yes, but I cannot. My pack, the laws, they forbid it. It would destroy everything. Selene's hands clenched at her sides, her heart pounded. You don't get to decide that for me. A sudden howl split the night. Sharp, close, dangerous. Both froze. The sound wasn't random, it was a warning, a declaration. The pack had sensed her, the bond, the untamed pull between her and Kael. They would come for her. Kael's eyes darkened. Go, he ordered, the command absolute, leaving no room for argument. Leave my territory. Before they find you, I can't just run, Selene whispered, voice shaking. Not like this, not now. The alpha stepped closer, his presence suffocating, and for a heartbeat, she felt the full force of the bond, raw, powerful, alive. His restraint was palpable, and so was the longing she saw flicker in his eyes, fleeting but undeniable. You will survive, he said finally, softer now, almost a confession. But the cost is exile. You cannot remain here, not until the bond is ready, until I am ready. Selene's lips parted, unsure whether to speak or cry. The thread pulsed violently beneath her skin, echoing the rhythm of her heart. She knew then that running was useless. Escaping was impossible. The bond would find her, pull her back, whether he wanted it or not. A sudden rustle in the trees made them both turn. Eyes glowing faintly in the dark, shadows moving closer. Kael's hand dropped instinctively to the hilt of his blade. They're coming, he whispered. And just like that, the night erupted in movement. Selene's breath caught. Her survival, her future, and her heart were about to be tested. Chapter 3. Shadows of the Forest. The forest had changed. Selene felt it immediately. The air thicker, heavier, charged with something she could not name. Every leaf, every branch seemed to whisper, warning her. The bond thrummed beneath her skin, no longer a faint pull but a pulse she could feel in her bones. Her steps quickened. Frost crunched beneath her boots, loud in the still night. She sensed movement, too deliberate to be the wind. Shadows shifted in the corners of her vision. Wolves, not ordinary wolves. Selene froze, her heart hammered, mind racing. The bond flared sharply, almost painfully, and she understood. Kael knew. He was watching, restraining himself, waiting. But the pack, they were closing in, drawn by the bond she could not yet control. Branches snapped. Figures emerged from the shadows, wolves in human form, eyes glowing faintly, muscles tense, predatory. Selene's breath caught. You shouldn't be here, one growled, low and dangerous. You are unclaimed, illegal. Selene's pulse raced. She felt fear, but also something unfamiliar, power. The bond pulsed stronger, and her body responded. Instincts she had never known surged. Her legs carried her swiftly, effortlessly through tangled roots and icy mud. A wolf lunged. She pivoted, shoving him away with a strength she didn't know she had. He stumbled back, eyes wide. She's awakened, another muttered, disbelief and fear mixing in their tone. Selene gasped. She had not consciously done it, yet the bond had protected her, guiding her movements, sharpening her reflexes. The forest seemed to bend subtly to her will. A deep roar shattered the night. Kael. He stepped from the shadows, presence alone bending the trees, silencing the pack. Amber eyes blazing, muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike. The wolves dropped to one knee, heads bowed instinctively, trembling. She is not to be touched. Kael's voice cut through the night, every word a weapon. Selene's knees shook, but she stood tall. The bond pulsed violently now, and for the first time she felt not fear, but exhilaration. She was part of something larger than herself, something dangerous, something alive. Kael's gaze met hers, and for a heartbeat the forest faded. There was no pack, no trees, no cold. Just him, just the bond. Just the undeniable thread that connected them across space, across destiny. Then reality crashed back. The wolves trembled, shadows flickered, and Kael's eyes hardened. "You will survive tonight," he said, softer, almost regretful. "But you will learn quickly. The bond is not a gift, it is a storm, and storms do not forgive." Selene swallowed, pulse racing. The forest hummed with tension. She had been hunted, tested, and awakened, all in the span of moments, and she understood now nothing would ever be ordinary again. Chapter 4. Exile and Choice. The frost of dawn bit harder than the night ever had. Selene's hands were numb, her cloak stiff with ice, yet she barely noticed. Her mind was consumed by the thread that pulsed beneath her skin, the bond with Kael, the alpha who had both protected and denied her. "You cannot stay," Kael said, his amber eyes blazing with an intensity that made her chest ache. "It's too dangerous. The pack, the laws, they will kill you if you remain." Selene's heart thundered. She had barely survived the night, yet Kael's words cut deeper than any predator's teeth. "Exile? You expect me to leave? To abandon everything?" His jaw tightened. He stepped closer, and for a fleeting second, the air between them felt electric, almost alive. The bond pulsed violently. She could feel his restraint, the war between desire and duty etched into every line of his face. "You will survive," he said softly, almost a whisper meant only for her. "But you cannot stay. You must leave before the council finds you, before the pack tests you." Fear clawed at Selene, but anger flared brighter. "I will not run like a coward. Kael's voice cut her off, sharp, authoritative. "This is not choice. This is survival. You must understand, if I claim you now, the consequences. They could destroy us both." Her fists clenched, nails biting into her palms. The bond throbbed, pulsing with impatience and power. She felt it everywhere, through her heart, her veins, the tips of her fingers. It demanded recognition, screamed for unity, and she hated Kael for denying it. Yet at the same time, she understood. Somehow she understood the weight of his restraint. A sudden snap of branches echoed from the woods. Selene's pulse quickened. Danger was never far, not when the bond burned so brightly. Kael's eyes flicked toward the sound. "Go," he ordered. One word. Absolute. Final. Selene's chest heaved. She wanted to argue, to fight, to demand more, but the weight of reality pressed down on her. Kael's amber gaze held hers, and in that moment she realized the truth. Running was futile. The bond would always find her. "You'll come back," he murmured almost to himself. "One way or another, the bond does not lie. It will not release you." Selene's lips parted. The forest seemed to hold its breath. She felt it too, the thread tugging, pulling, relentless. She could flee, but she could never escape the bond. She could resist Kael, defy the alpha, hide in shadows, but the bond would always call her back. Her eyes met his one last time. There was longing, there was regret, there was desire, and there was the unspoken truth. Fate had chosen them both, whether they wanted it or not. The first rays of dawn touched the forest floor. Selene took a deep breath, turning her back on Kael's imposing figure. Her heart hurt, her body trembled, but she walked forward. Exile had begun, and with it a journey that would test every ounce of courage, every beat of her heart. Chapter 5. Awakening of Power. The first steps beyond Kael's territory were heavier than Selene expected. The frost-bitten earth crunched beneath her boots, but it was the weight in her chest, the bond, that made each step feel like a battle. She paused at a clearing. The forest stretched endlessly, silent, waiting, and then a flicker of movement caught her eye, shadows slipping between the trees. Wolves, not ordinary wolves, pack enforcers. Panic surged. Her pulse raced. The bond flared violently beneath her skin. She could feel Kael's presence, not close, not near, but tethered to her, pulling, warning. Her fingers tingled, her vision sharpened. This was no ordinary fear. This was awakening. A wolf stepped forward, amber eyes burning with malice. "Human," it growled, voice low and threatening. "You are trespassing where you do not belong." Selene's chest heaved. Something inside her snapped. Not fear, not desperation, but raw, untrained power. The thread pulsed like a drumbeat, and instinct took over. She lifted her hands. Air hummed around her. Frost sparkled along the edges of leaves and rocks. The ground beneath her feet vibrated subtly, as if alive. Wolves staggered back, snarling, their confidence faltering. A surge of energy burst through her. Her senses expanded. She could hear their heartbeat, smell their fear, see every subtle movement in the shadows. The forest itself seemed to bend to her awareness, guiding her steps, giving her cover. The wolves lunged. Selene moved with a grace she had never known, leaping over branches, twisting, sidestepping. A paw swiped at her shoulder, but she caught it midair, flinging it aside with a strength she didn't know she possessed. They hesitated, startled by the unnatural force radiating from her. And then a roar split the air. Kael. He emerged from the tree line, eyes blazing amber, every step commanding. The wolves froze, muscles coiled, heads lowered in instinctive obedience. Selene felt the bond pulse violently, a mixture of pride and fear. She had done this, but she had done it because of him, because of the bond, because of Kael. He stepped to her side, silent, powerful. The forest hummed between them, alive, electric. "The bond is awakening," he said quietly, almost reverently. "And so are you." Selene's chest burned with exhilaration and fear. I didn't know I could." "You never truly knew," Kael interrupted, amber eyes piercing hers. "Not until now. This power, it is dangerous. You will need control, discipline, or it will destroy you before anyone else can." The pack hesitated, still kneeling in awe and fear. Selene felt the thread pulse in her chest, like a heartbeat she could not escape, one that whispered in a voice she knew she would obey. "We are one." Her lips parted. "Kael, I feel it. I feel everything. Because of you." Kael's jaw tightened. "Do not mistake survival for choice. This is power, and it demands respect, both from you and from me." A sudden snap from the forest edge drew their attention. Wolves were moving again, subtly, testing the edges of the clearing. Selene's heart raced. The power inside her flared in anticipation, thrumming, demanding release. Kael's hand brushed hers, grounding her. The bond flared, connecting them in an instant. Two souls, tethered, pulsing with energy and unspoken desire. The first battle of her new life had begun. Chapter 6. The Training of Fire. The first rays of dawn painted the forest in silver and gold, but Selene barely noticed. Her focus was inward, on the thread that pulsed beneath her skin, the bond with Kael that burned hotter every moment. "You cannot control it. Yet," Kael said, stepping silently from the shadows. His amber eyes softened just enough to betray the smallest flicker of concern. "You need focus, or it will consume you, and everyone around you." Selene's hands shook. "I don't want to hurt anyone. Then listen," Kael interrupted, his voice firm, almost unyielding. "Feel it. The bond is not just connection, it's power, instinct, and desire all at once. If you fight it, it will burn you." She swallowed hard, taking a deep breath. The forest hummed, alive with anticipation, almost sentient. The thread tugged at her heart, guiding, teaching. She clenched her fists, feeling the energy coil beneath her skin, hot and vibrant like a fire waiting to be unleashed. Kael circled her slowly, every movement predatory, deliberate. "You are bound to me," he said, voice low, teasing just enough to make her pulse spike. "But the bond does not make you mine, not yet. You must learn control, and you must trust me, or it will destroy you." A flicker of fear and longing twisted in Selene's chest. She wanted him, she hated that she did, and yet she obeyed, letting the bond guide her. Kael stopped before her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. "Focus," he whispered. "Let it flow through you, not against you." She closed her eyes. She felt the forest, the pack, the very pulse of life around her. The energy surged through her, unpredictable, wild, but not hostile. She moved her hands, letting it flow outward, and a small burst of silver light shimmered along the frost-covered ground. Kael's amber eyes flickered with approval. "Good, but control it. Every movement has consequence. Every action leaves a mark." Selene's lips parted. "I feel alive, more than I ever have." "Alive," Kael repeated, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "And dangerous. Never forget that." Suddenly, a shadow darted between the trees. A wolf testing her, drawn by the bond's pulse. Selene's instincts flared. Without thought, she raised her hands, channeling the energy she barely understood. A controlled surge of power burst outward, sending the wolf skidding back with a yelp. Kael's expression darkened. "Careful, you're powerful, but power without control is lethal, and the pack will not wait for you to learn." The thread pulsed violently, and Selene's heartbeat synced with it. She could feel Kael beside her, tethered, guiding, restraining. She shivered, not from cold but from the intimacy of the connection, the bond that refused to let her go. "You're stronger than you know," Kael murmured, "and one day that strength will belong to no one but me, if I allow it." Selene's chest tightened. The words burned, whispered promises mingled with warnings. The forest held its breath around them, alive with anticipation. The first lesson was over, but the true challenge had just begun. Chapter 7. First Blood. Night fell like a shadow swallowing the forest. Selene's breath misted in the cold air, each step careful, deliberate. The lessons from Kael's training burned in her mind, the flow of energy, the pulse of the bond, the instinctive awareness of danger, yet nothing could prepare her for what waited. A rustle from the trees, low growls, the glint of eyes in the darkness. Wolves. Not training dummies, not tests. Hunters. The pack had not forgotten her nor forgiven her. And they had come. Selene's heart thundered. The thread in her chest flared, pulsing violently. Kael's presence, though distant, hummed through her veins like a tether she could not break. She could almost hear his voice. "Trust the bond. Trust yourself." The first wolf lunged. Selene's hands glowed faintly, silver light spiraling from her fingertips. The wolf yelped, stumbling backward, as her power erupted instinctively. Another charged. She dodged, weaving through the trees with newfound grace. Each movement precise, instinctive. Every strike, every surge of energy guided by the bond. Her chest heaved, adrenaline and fear coiling together. This was no longer practice, this was survival. A wolf tackled her to the ground, teeth bared. Instinct screamed, the bond flared, and with it Selene's power exploded outward in a pulse of energy. Frost shot across the forest floor, illuminating the clearing with silver light. The wolf shrieked, retreating into the shadows. Kael stepped into the clearing like a storm incarnate. His amber eyes burned, muscles coiled. Wolves fell back instinctively, trembling under his presence. The alpha's aura pressed down, commanding, protective, unstoppable. "You are mine," Kael growled, voice low, deadly, "and no pack will take you from me." Selene's chest burned, not from fear but from the intensity of the bond. The thread tightened, pulsing like a heartbeat she could feel in her very bones. Her power resonated with his presence, a dangerous, thrilling connection she could neither escape nor resist. The pack hesitated, unsure, broken by Kael's dominance. Selene felt it, the truth of the bond of their connection, of the storm of power now coursing through her. She was no longer just a human caught in a supernatural world. She was a force, tethered to the Alpha who refused her yet could not live without her. Kael's hand brushed hers briefly, grounding her. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the night vibrating with the tension between them. "You survived your first battle," Kael murmured, voice soft but edged with steel. "But this is only the beginning. The pack will come again, and next time, you must be ready to fight or die." Selene's pulse raced, chest heaving. The bond hummed, alive and insistent. She realized with a mixture of fear and thrill that her life, her power, and her destiny were now inseparable from Kael's. The forest settled, but the threat lingered, a shadow over her soul. First blood had been drawn, and it was only the start. Chapter 8. Shadows of Desire. The forest was quiet, but Selene's senses screamed otherwise. The pack was still out there, hidden in the shadows, their intent unmistakable. Every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves, carried a warning. Kael's presence hummed in the bond, strong and steady yet distant, watching, guiding, but letting her face this alone. The thread pulsed like a heartbeat she could feel in her chest. He was near but not close enough to protect her this time. Selene's hands shook as she surveyed the clearing ahead. 2 wolves emerged, blocking the narrow path forward. They weren't attacking yet, but they didn't need to. Their intent was clear: make her choice. A flash of movement caught her eye. A third wolf, wounded, collapsing near the trees. Her instincts screamed to help, but the bond flared sharply, warning her, choose wisely. Every action has consequences. Fear and desire twisted in her chest. She could save the wolf and risk the others attacking, or ignore it to survive. Her power hummed, alive and unpredictable. Every nerve, every fiber of her being screamed at her to act. She took a deep breath. Silver light pulsed from her hands, flowing outward, gentle yet commanding. The 2 wolves hesitated, sensing the power surging through her. Selene reached the wounded wolf, its amber eyes flickering with fear and recognition. She wrapped her hands around it, channeling energy to heal, not harm. The pack froze. Even Kael's distant presence flared, tension coiling through the bond. Selene felt the thread tighten, pulling her closer, binding her to him in ways that were terrifying and intoxicating. She had chosen compassion. She had chosen power, responsibility, and desire intertwined. Suddenly, a growl ripped through the trees, a leader of the pack, drawn by the energy. Selene's heart pounded. She could feel Kael behind her, his presence anchoring her, giving her strength. The thread pulsed violently, and her power surged, protective, defensive, unstoppable. "You are reckless," Kael's voice cut through her mind, low and commanding, yet threaded with admiration. "But so very alive, and so very mine." Her lips parted, a shiver running down her spine. The bond flared brighter, almost unbearable in its intensity. Fear, desire, and power coursed through her, thrilling and dangerous. The pack leader retreated, sensing the Alpha's control, and the bond's power radiating through Selene. Silence fell. The wounded wolf stirred, safe for now, and Selene realized the truth: her choices, her power, and her heart were all irrevocably tied to Kael. The forest exhaled. Shadows shifted. And somewhere deep in the thread, a promise pulsed: no matter the danger, no matter the distance, they would face it together. Chapter 9. Heartbound. Moonlight filtered through the canopy, silver and soft, but Selene's world was anything but calm. The forest whispered warnings, and her senses were taut, alive with every movement, every shadow. Kael appeared silently beside her, a presence that sent shivers down her spine. His amber eyes locked onto hers, unyielding, commanding, and impossibly intimate. The bond pulsed between them, stronger than ever, vibrating like a drumbeat in her chest. It was no longer just power, it was desire. Selene, Kael said softly, voice low and rough, carrying a weight that made her heart flutter. You are bound to me. Every heartbeat, every thought, every choice is ours now. Her chest tightened. The thread pulsed almost painfully, and she felt it in every fiber of her being. I feel it, she whispered, trembling. I can't ignore it, even if I wanted to. He stepped closer, the distance shrinking until the warmth of his presence pressed against her. The air between them crackled with tension, electric, dangerous. Selene's power stirred, responding to him as much as to her own instinct. She could feel the forest, the pack, even the distant moonlight bending toward their connection. A rustle in the shadows jolted her, but her attention didn't waver. Kael's hand brushed hers, grounding, tethering, igniting. The bond flared, and she realized with a thrill-tinged fear that their connection was no longer just survival or power. It was heart-bound. Danger is coming, Kael murmured, voice rougher now. The pack will test you again. They will test us. You must trust me, and trust yourself. Selene's lips parted, her breath catching. She wanted to ask more, to lean into him, to succumb to the pull, but the thread tightened sharply, a warning, a promise, a tether she could not escape. She was his, in ways beyond choice, beyond reason. The night air shivered as a lone wolf emerged, testing her, watching, calculating. Selene's pulse raced, but this time she didn't hesitate. Power flowed through her, controlled, precise. The silver light from her fingertips spiraled, illuminating the forest and forcing the intruder back. Kael's eyes flickered with approval. Good, you're learning. But power alone is not enough. You must combine it with heart, with will, with me. Her chest burned, the thread pulsing, and Selene realized the truth. The bond was no longer just about survival or strength. It was about fate, desire, and love intertwined. The wolf retreated, leaving only silence and the pulsing bond between them. Selene met Kael's gaze, chest heaving, mind racing, and knew one undeniable truth. She was irrevocably bound to him, heart and soul, and there was no turning back. Chapter 10. The Alpha's Choice. The forest was alive with tension, every shadow sharp, every rustle a warning. Selene's heartbeat thundered in her chest, each pulse synchronized with the thread that pulsed endlessly between her and Kael. Tonight, there would be no lessons, no practice, only survival and choice. The pack had gathered, their amber eyes glinting in the moonlight. They had come for her, for the unclaimed human who dared wield power beyond her understanding. But Kael was with her, the bond stronger than ever, tethering their fates, their hearts, their souls. You don't have to do this alone, Kael murmured, his amber gaze soft yet commanding. Trust the bond, trust yourself, trust me. Selene nodded, feeling the warmth of the thread surge through her, steadying her, strengthening her. She could sense the pack's tension, their fear of the alpha, and now of her too. The first wolf lunged. Silver light erupted from Selene's hands, a controlled burst of energy that sent the attacker tumbling back. The forest lit up with her power, dazzling, wild, and precise. Each movement was instinct, training, and desire intertwined. Kael moved beside her, a storm in human form. Together, they were unstoppable. Wolves that had threatened her moments before now hesitated, sensing the bond, the connection that made her as lethal as any alpha. You have a choice. Kael's voice cut through the chaos, low and urgent. You can fight, or let me lead. Either way, we face this together. Selene's chest burned, not from fear, but from exhilaration. Her hands glowed brighter, the bond flaring, and she realized the truth. She was not just bound to Kael. She was part of him, as he was part of her. Every beat of her heart, every surge of her power resonated with him. The pack leader stepped forward, snarling, testing them both. Selene's eyes met Kael's, and in that silent exchange, a promise passed between them. No one would harm them, no one would break their bond. Together, they moved, a flawless unit of instinct and desire. Selene's power surged, Kael's presence commanded, and the pack fell back, broken by the force of their connection. Silence descended on the clearing, heavy but relieved. Kael's amber eyes softened as he reached for her. The thread pulsed violently, almost painfully, but it tethered them close. You've survived, you've grown, and now, the choice is mine to make. Selene's breath caught. Kael, what choice? His lips curved, dangerous and tender. To claim you fully, or to risk losing you to the world. The air shimmered with power, tension, and desire. Selene's pulse raced, every nerve alive with anticipation. And then Kael leaned closer, their foreheads touching, the thread between them blazing like a fire. You are mine, he whispered, voice low, unwavering. Not because I demand it, but because the bond, fate, and my heart all refuse otherwise. Tears pricked Selene's eyes. Relief, longing, and an indescribable joy surged through her. She had fought, she had grown, she had survived, but most of all, she had been seen, claimed, and loved. The forest exhaled around them. The pack had retreated. Danger lingered, yes, but so did the bond, unbreakable, eternal. Kael's hand covered hers, the pulse of the thread steadying, comforting, promising everything and more. And in that moment, Selene knew. Her destiny, her power, and her heart belonged to the Alpha who had stolen her soul. The night held its breath as the moon shone down, silver and eternal. Their journey had ended, yet it was only the beginning of everything they were bound to face, together. And so, Selene and Kael's story reaches its breathtaking conclusion. A tale of destiny, desire, and a bond that could not be broken. Their journey reminds us that love, courage, and the choices we make define who we truly are. If you enjoyed this audiobook, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that will pull you into worlds of passion, danger, and magic. Explore the rest of our audiobooks. You'll find adventures, romance, and mysteries that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And stay tuned, because new books are coming soon, ready to sweep you into another unforgettable story. Your next favorite story is just a click away.